This is the first of 5 demonstrations that are going to be showcasing the functions of the automated payment delays handling system that has been created here. This is an invoice system, so handling invoices, clients, and emails back and forth between said clients and the people who are owning this software and using it. So this is the first demonstration, as I said, so this will be cases. So adding a case to the system. Now we can see a list of cases here. We want to add a new one. Well, in an official version of this system, this is just a prototype, but in an official version of this system, it will be automated, fully, connected to an ERP or some other form of pulling data in and then loading it into this system through that mechanic. But for the purposes of this, it is manual. So I have created manual process 1 that allows for the adding and updating of cases. So for this purpose, we'll be creating a new case. So no invoice ID, that'll be set automatically. Invoice date, today. Let's put the end of the month as the due date. It's upcoming. Let's use Solvi Studio. The amount doesn't matter. The amount can be anything. Let's say they've already paid 300. 3% sales tax. Let's go. So, if you want to add a new client, you'd be able to do so here. You click this button on the side, you add a new client. That will add a client that can then be used in this section here where a client is selected. So, we're going to submit. Now, when this submits, it will go through an automatic process. The rest of it is automated. Where it will add the case to the system, connect it to the client, and then send an automated email, which is an action, which I will describe later. An automated email based on a template. It chooses the template based on the status of the case that has been added to the system, and then sends an email based on that template. So I will show you what that is. So it will submit. Could take a moment. It sometimes does when recording. And there we go. So if I reload the page, we'll be able to see that the case has been added. Case ID 11. I see ID 00011. Right there. Everything's good. Solvi Studio. It's there. We can see a summary view of the case if we want to. And we can see that one email, the related emails with Solvi Studio, has been sent out. Email ID 40. It is going in an outgoing direction. It has been sent. So we have all of the information here. We have the client, Solvi Studio, Solvio. We have Solvi Studio, which I will show in a second, because that has all the details of all of the clients' information, their cases, their emails that they've been sending / have been sent. So you can see the emails here. I'll show you the email that has been sent out. Concerning invoice ICID 0011, that is the case that we have just added, and we can see that it sent a very basic template. This is just, it has HTML in it. That HTML can be very easily stripped to produce a clean text section, but I wanted to leave it in for the purposes of this because it shows you how it functions. But that email has been sent to that address. Appian has sent it, and it has been received. This is an outgoing email, so there is no analysis that needs to be done. It's been sent. If I back up, I can show the client view. I can show that Solvi Studio has this as their screen. So the summary for Solvi Studio can see all of their cases. Most of them have been paid, a lot of them very late. So they have a very low trust value, which you can see here, minus 0.08. It's a low trust. That becomes important later. And we can see that this case, new one, has been added to their profile. We can also see on the second page of this the number of emails that they have been sending and receiving. So we can see that they've been sent for the last two things, a couple of outgoing emails, and the most recent one is stored right here. So it is worth noting, again, that everything in this system it will be automated in a full version of this. But for now, it is all manually triggered. But yes, so this would send an automated email and has added a case to the system. So this is demonstration 2 of the automated payment delays handling system. This time we'll be covering emails, incoming emails. So much like the first process, much like adding a case, emails in the full system would ideally be something received by an SMTP server, sent to the SMTP server at a particular email address, by a client in response to an email that has been sent out by the same SMTP server. So the automated email that was sent for the case when it was added to the system, that would be responded to by the client and would receive an email. For the purposes of this, as it is a prototype, it is manually inputted. So we have this here. I'm just going to say that it is my email in there. It is concerning case. It is concerning case. Concerning case. So this is going to be from the Solvi Studio client. So we'll want to make sure that it is for ICID 11, because that will be the case that we just created in the last video. And then this is a very positive email suggesting that I will be paying on time, is the idea. This is just a development tool. For the purposes of this, we'll be saying yes, the commit to database. So this email will be going into the system. In an actual system, this will be coming through an SMTP server, and the rest of the system will be automated. So I'm going to click submit, and when I do so, it'll be passed off to a fully automated system that will ultimately decide that no action needs to be taken, and that this incoming email is a positive email. Nothing additional needs to be done. It's just a positive email confirming that they want to be paid on time. But that's not all, because the email is going to be automatically analyzed. Allow me to submit. We'll have the email analysis in place, and then I'll show you what I mean. So, as we can see, there's been a new incoming email at the top of this list in the email view. See, we're in the email view. There is a new email ID that has been added, email 41. This is the email that was just received. So it's by Solvi Studio. It's related to case ICID 00011. It gets that from the subject, because the subject of the email had the code in it. That is the idea with these emails, is outgoing emails will have the code in the subject, and then the code for the case in the subject, and then incoming emails will also have the related case in the subject, if not in the body of the email. It also searches that. So it finds a case related to the email, essentially. But we're going to look at the email, and much like before, we can see that the email has been added, only this time something new is in place. The analysis tab will allow us to see the full analysis of the email. So this is done through a combination of several things. One is using Google Cloud, NLP, natural language processing, for sentiment analysis. And the sentiment analysis is passed into a number of classification algorithms, not machine learning algorithms, but classification algorithms that determine whether it is a positive email based on the sentiments for each sentence, or whether it is a negative email, whether it is neutral. And it also judges it based on keywords. So as we can see here, the payment for this email, the client was clearly positive in terms of payment. And we can see that here where the sentence for "I am happy to report that I will be paying on time" is clearly positive. So it's positive about that particular aspect. And we can see that here. When I click on this, it lets me know that the keywords payment, there was pay and on time, those are the key elements, and this sentence was a clearly positive sentence. So payment is a positive thing in this case. It also says it's clearly positive for errors, because it says there are no errors in the calculations and the invoice is correct. And it judged this. The sentiment score was 0.70. The magnitude was 0.70, meaning that because it is above 0.20, it's clearly positive. So that is the idea based on this. It judges it based on sentiment analysis and classifications and sorting of certain elements in this particular method. So there's also another element here, which is this up here in the top left, which is response interval, judging how much time it took for the between the first email being sent and the last email this email being received, so how long the client took to respond. Client trust is at the point of sending the email, was the client trusted? That is related to how often they have paid on time in the past, fully paid debts. This will start off at 0, and then it can be between 1 and -1. That's their value. And we can see here that for every case they pay on time, it will be a positive. They'll have a positive value added to it. For every case they fail to pay on time, it will have a negative value attached to it. So we can see that this is a negative client trust, so they're unlikely to pay on time based on the trust only. But clearly they're positive about this email, so maybe they will pay on time. Who knows? That is an example of a clearly positive email. I would like to also show what a clearly negative email looks like. And I think this is the one, if I'm correct. Yes, it is. So this is an example, one I made earlier, of a clearly negative email. So I want to be very frank with you. I do not intend to pay any time before the 30th of the 7th. That is final, and there will be no more discussion. If you want to continue to pursue me, then I'll be paying when I will be paying. About when I will be paying, you will be hearing from my lawyers. So negative. The analysis shows that. Now, at this current point in time, the client trust was much higher, so they were very likely to pay on time. But the overall sense for this email was that it was negative, based on sentiment analysis. The same process, the same Google Cloud natural language processing plus classification algorithms produced this. And we can see it also takes in the dates for this. So this keyword is saying, I do not intend to pay any time before the 30th of the 7th. We can see that it recorded the 30th of the 7th as a date. Just for memory. And this is a clearly negative statement. So it's in the keywords, it noted that it's clearly negative in payment, doesn't mention error, completely neutral with error, and then clearly negative for lawsuits. So here we can see with this sentence, this is the one that skews it towards lawsuits. If you want to continue to pursue me when I'm paying, you'll be hearing from my lawyers. So that is clearly negative. And it recognizes all of that. And yes, so that is ultimately one of the biggest parts of this system is the analysis section for emails and judging what we can do past that, which is what the next section is about. Based on this analysis, we can pass this analysis to rules, and these rules will allow certain actions to be taken. More on that. Okay, so this is the third of the demonstratory videos, and in this one we'll be handling rules. Rules are governed by supervisors. Only supervisors of the system, supervisor users, will have access to this rule management system. At the moment, they can add rules, they can delete rules, but in a full version of this system, they'd be able to edit rules as well, update them, change their priority, that kind of thing. So, what are rules? Well, they govern what actions should be taken when certain conditions are met. So, for example, we can see here that when the payment is overdue, that's one of the triggers, and the client trust is above 0, which is the base. So if they are above or equal to 0, so if they are a regular client that pays on time, then an automatic email will be sent telling them that their payment is overdue. They need to be alerted of it. So that is the rule that happens there. The automatic email is the action. This would be, for the payment overdue, this would be the template that we saw in the first process when a case was added to the system. That's what would happen. The email, this rule triggered and an automatic email was sent. So, what happens when there are incoming emails? Well, the payment overdue rules are ignored. Only the incoming email rules need to be considered. And this is the one of the two triggers. You have incoming emails and overdue payments. So when an incoming email is brought in, the rules system is consulted, and only the rules that have incoming email will be looked at in priority order, starting from 10 down to 1. So this is 6, it's the only rule there, but if there were more, then they would be in order of priority. And if the overall email sentiment is clearly negative, we could see this in the negative email that we sent before, the clearly negative email that was received. The action was manual email. So a manual email needs to be sent. If a case or an incoming email triggers this rule. So what are actions? I mentioned them a couple of times. You see a couple of them here: automatic emails, manual emails, debt collection. There are a couple of different actions that can be taken. And you can see a list of them here in the new handling rule form. So automatic emails, manual emails, debt collection, legal action, and call center. Automatic emails are an automatic process. When that action is called, it is an automatic process. The other 4 are user-based. They are manual. So when those actions are called, users will be told about it. Specifically, users that are of one of the 4 relevant groups here: manual emails, debt collectors, legal actors, lawyers, and call center workers. So the relevant user will be alerted using an interface that I will show in the next video. But then you'd choose the priority and what actually makes up the rule. Now we are actually going to add a rule here because we're going to add another payment overdue rule. We're going to say check that the payment is overdue by and then 30 plus days. So if the payment is overdue by 30 plus days, we want the debt collectors to be notified. And we're going to put this at priority 7 for a reason. I will tell you in a moment. So I'm going to submit that. It'll add it to the system. I will reload the page and it didn't add it. I'll reload the page again. There we go. So now you may have noticed something. There are 2 rules at priority 7, both of them with the same trigger. Different actions though. So what does this mean? It means that if one of those rules is triggered, then it is possible to trigger both of them because they're at the same priority. Once one of those rules is triggered, priority 6 and lower, for example, don't get looked at, but priority 7 do. So in this case, let's say that there are a new case is added, it is overdue by 30 days, but the client is a trusted client. Well then, both of those 7 priority triggers, both of them 7 priority rules would be triggered. The client would get an automatic email, and debt collectors in this company, users of the debt collector group, will be notified through an interface. And that's how the rule system works. This is connected to both incoming emails and payments cases, invoices, and then it dictates how actions get resolved and who it gets passed off to. And I shall explain more and show the interface for that in the next video. Okay, so this is the 4th demonstratory video of the APD system, and we'll be showcasing adding a new case that triggers rules, the rules we just set in the video just before, and then showing how the manual tasks, at least in this prototype version, they can be manipulated for any version that would be more official, but showing how they would be used and acted upon. So, to start this, I've taken our invoice from earlier, invoice 11, and I've changed the due date so that it is at least 30 days ago. 30 plus days overdue. So it's a long time. I've also changed Solvi Studio's client trust by changing a couple of their paid cases, but I've changed it so that their trust is a positive value. This will mean that both of the rules at priority 7 will be triggered. Both of them will. So because the client has a trust value above 0 now, they have 0.25. Because they have a trust value above 0.25, they will be sent an automatic email. And because their case is overdue by 30 plus days, we're updating the old case, but it functions exactly the same going through the system. Overdue by 30 plus days, it will trigger the debt collector's action. Debt collector users will then be told about it through an interface that I will show you in but a moment. I will also show you the email to make sure that it has gone through. So let's submit. Let's load. Could take a second to load, but also to run the entire process from start to finish. It is a big process after all. We can see that the due date has been added, the overdue by 30 plus days is there, so it's in the list. That's no issues. Now, what we'll want to do is we'll want to go here, and any Appian user will have access to this if their administrator has allowed, and they will have access to their tempo. And tempo is their task interface. Now, I am set as a debt collector, so I will get this debt collector task, and here we can see it. So it is specifically sent or opened, I suppose, to all debt collectors, members of the ZP debt collectors group. There is another just below it for the ZP mail responders group, but we'll get to that in a moment because that is another group that gets tasks. So the debt collectors tasks, get this. They will have been alerted that the case that had just been created will have triggered a rule at priority 7. The trigger was the payment was overdue, and the rule was the payment was overdue by 30 days. They will see some case information. Of course, in the final version of this, it will be a lot more extensive. There will be a historical timeline of emails that have been sent for said case, if there are any. Right now, the email section for cases doesn't work, but for incoming emails, it does. That's something that will have to be changed later. It's something I've recently noticed while trying to make these videos. Anyway, I digress. So the cases that is here, you'll be able to see the full case summary as we were shown earlier. You get to see all of this. You get to see the emails that have sent back and forth between them. You get the case history here, but it would be nice to get it in the task menu. Either way. But you can see here that there are several things. The first thing you must do is, if you are a member of the debt collectors group, you would accept it, and then it is you, and then you'd set the status to pending. This is just an example, but it will set the status of the action to pending. It should do, at least. Doesn't have the ability to run the thing. Okay, so there's another problem there. This one has quite a few problems that will need to be fixed moving forwards. But you can also decide to swap this to a different team. So say I wanted to, say if I was like, this case isn't able to be sorted by by debt collectors, this was the wrong choice that the rules system has made, then you'd be able to pass it off to a separate group saying, the call centers group needs to be told, or the manual mail group needs to be told, or the legal team needs to be told, and it should be passed off to them. Then you can reassign it to them. But for the purposes of this, we're just going to I will do that in a second. I will complete the task in a second, but I will show you in here that the task is open. We have the case action right here. It has been set to pending. It does not update here for some reason. I thought I had set that so that it worked, but hey ho, we're finding more bugs. But the status is pending, and I am the assigned user to this. As we can see here. So if we now go into this and we say we've done everything we need to do, we've got in touch with them, we've forced them to pay, we've done everything that needs to be done. Well, we complete the task. Now the task disappears from our task list, and we should be able to see right there that our task has completed. Now this is the menu for the interface needs work, needs more information in it. This is something that will be put into the full version of the full version of the system. So that is how the debt collectors system works. It goes through that. Actions will be passed to the specific members of the groups that will need to work upon them. For example, a manual email user will not have access to debt collector systems. debt collector actions because they are not of the debt collector group. I am of both debt collectors and manual emails in this context, so I get both, which is what this other one is. Now if we go on this, we can see this was triggered by an incoming email. So the triggering rule was priority 6, the incoming email. The overall email sentiment was clearly negative. And we can see the case that it's relating to. Now it's been paid on time because I did some fiddling. But we can see that the email that it was attached to is the negative one from earlier. So we can see that we can see that the analysis is here. We can see everything's negative. We can have a look at it. We can determine that it is like at the point the client trust was 0.5, very likely. We can analyze the email there and respond accordingly with the task that we have been given. We can respond accordingly to that. So again, it's just an example. None of the processes have been set in place that work from this, but it's a suggestive something else can be here, something more elaborate can be at this end. It is not complete, it is not set. You can set the status to pending, the action complete, and then complete task. So now we will see that this task that was there was task, it was this one, and we can see that the manual email has now been completed by me. And that is how the rules trigger the actions and how the actions can be dealt with at the other end. Yeah. So this is the 5th demonstratory video, and I'll be looking at something a little different to the rest of it, which is the automated email responses. Now I'm not talking about sending the emails based on templates. I'm talking about when a client has sent in an email analysis has been done, and a rule is triggered for automated emails. This is what will be at the other end, and it is powered by ChatGPT. The idea is that ChatGPT will be fed a little bit of information about the client, a little bit of information about the email, mainly its body, and the subject and various other things like that. And then it is prompted to reply to that email. And this is an example of an interface that shows how that functions. So there is an automated process for this, but this shows it without any changes to the system, how the automated mail system works in the context of this application, visually. So we ask ChatGPT this, we send it email 41, the positive email we made in episode 2 of this, the second video, and then we ask ChatGPT to respond to it. So I have told ChatGPT to just respond as if it is a company called Invoice Corp, because it doesn't necessarily matter. However, ChatGPT has responded with, "Dear client, thank you for confirming that the invoice is correct. We are glad to hear that you'll be paying on time. Don't hesitate to contact us if there are any changes in the payment. We look forward to a continued business relationship." A very polite, appropriate email response. And ChatGPT can do this automatically. And to prove that I haven't just used a template and made it up, I will set it again. I'll let it react to the same email. And then there is this. Dear Steve, thank you for your response and for confirming that the invoice is correct. We appreciate your timely payment and are glad you are satisfied with the calculations. If you have any further queries concerning case ICID 00011, please do not hesitate to contact us. Best regards, Invoice Corp. And this can be done over and over again. For the purposes of this, I'd recommend that before the email is sent every time, a supervisor oversees it, just gives it the approval, is probably the easiest way of doing this, but this is something Appian can do. This is something Appian is capable of, and moving forward, integrating with ChatGPT, Google Cloud, a whole slew of other ones. There are Microsoft AI, AI integrations that you can make with it. There's so many, but ChatGPT powers this particular element of our system. Yeah.